Summerland is a short narrative video game experience that encourages you to reconsider what you deem right and wrong. In this game, you play as a down-on-his-luck police officer named Matthew, a single father who has not only recently lost his wife, but who has also been struck with financial hardship due to pay cuts and his reliance on an expensive medication. It's a solid premise for a game that explores morality, as it clearly gives you the impression that it has some interesting morally gray areas that will be broached. But is it as strong as its premise makes it out to be? Let's find out. Stories about morality are compelling because they address something we all face every single day: making choices, and how each of our choices might define us as good or bad or in between. These stories often center on one key point: morality isn't black and white, and it's most especially because difficult circumstances can force good people to commit quote-unquote bad actions. Summerland's plot is no different from these other stories about morality. It doesn't break the mold for moral storytelling, and it doesn't present any groundbreaking new concepts about morality to its players. But that doesn't make it a bad game for being a little bit derivative. I actually think that the game is far from being bad. I might be wrong, and I apologize to the creator if I am, but Summerland is clearly influenced by NBC's comedy sitcom The Good Place, an amazing show about the complexity of moral judgment. In the game, you wake up in the afterlife and the very first thing you see is a message meant to calm you, which has clear parallels to the very first scene of The Good Place, even right down to Kristen Bell's sigh. Take a look at this comparison. The game occasionally raises questions pertaining to moral philosophy, particularly from the works of Immanuel Kant and Jeremy Bentham, just like the character Chidi does in his teachings from The Good Place. You might think that Summerland's story becomes weaker for borrowing its moral line of questioning from another work, but surprisingly, I think this is where the game is at its strongest. When it leans on this influence, it gives the story a sense of maturity and depth it might have otherwise lacked. So, let's track where the game goes right and where it goes wrong, and to do that, let's go all the way back to the beginning. As I said before, you play as a police officer named Matthew. You're dead, and you're being judged by an unseen arbiter who forces you to relive several memories in order to determine whether or not you're a bad person. In your first memory, you show up to a crime scene with a rookie officer named Evelyn. I actually like this memory quite a bit, since there's a bit of mystery as to what went down here, and your investigation actually feels fruitful as you try to figure out what happened as you track down every clue. Ultimately, you discern that the mystery is just a drug deal gone wrong, and as you head back to let Evelyn know what you think, you suffer from a sudden inability to breathe, which is something you must treat with pills. It's never clear as to what these pills are and what illness they're treating, but we're later informed that they're super expensive. Anyway, once you tell Evelyn about what you think happened, she asks why some people just don't see right and wrong. Matthew responds by saying that people who do bad things deserve what's coming to them. And it's clear that this entire first memory is designed to set the scene for criticizing those who view morals as being either black or white. It's a bit too on the nose, but it does set up a base for introducing the topic of moral grayness in the later memories. In the second memory, you find out that Matthew is a single father because his wife Anna passed away. You also find out that the government is further cutting funding from the police force, forcing Matthew further into financial hardship. This is probably the most unrealistic part of the game, because let's be serious, the police getting defunded? In America? That's definitely not happening. But I can suspend my disbelief for it. This sets up a dilemma for Matthew. He has bills to pay, he has expensive medication to buy, and he has a son he needs to support. But he doesn't have the financial means anymore to do all this. So what do you think he's gonna do? I'm sure you can guess. And it's not getting a second job at the local supermarket. Before you can go into the third memory, the Arbiter stops you to ask you a few questions. This happens every so often, and each time, he asks you different moral questions pertaining to what you think is more ethically right out of two given options. These segments are what add depth to the game, as they force you to think about different ethical consequences, and they provoke you to think more about your own moral reasoning, which is the whole goal of the game. In this first segment, the judge presents the trolley problem to you, and you can answer how you see fit. Do you allow a train to kill 5 people by doing nothing? Or do you make the choice to kill one person to save the other 5? I don't think the game changes with whatever you decide, but even though your choice doesn't matter, I personally think that any narrative experience that can make you think is commendable. In the third memory, you get a mysterious phone call from a man named Charlie. It's revealed that you've made a decision on how to deal with your financial problems, working for a man who exploits your police resources to get away with various crimes.
And you leave with just enough cash to make all your problems just go away. Listen here, I know all about the government job pay cuts, and I know without this money, you'll...
Where is it?
William and Son's bar. My boys will have been in and out. Be on the case. And hey, remember, you're doing this for the kid.
In the next memory, you clean up most of the evidence from one of Charlie's robberies, and once you get back to the police station, you burn the rest of it. The judge on the phone asks you some more questions, and then you head into the next memory, which further shows Matthew's decline. He's becoming more and more financially desperate, and this pushes him to accept Charlie's final request. Matthew goes to Charlie's base of operations to clean up all the evidence there, but Evelyn catches him in the act and forces him to turn himself in. It doesn't show what happens to Matthew after he turns himself in, but it doesn't seem like he gets fired or gets reprimanded or anything, because he just goes about his day afterwards. Sounds like real life.
Your dignity intact and turn yourself in. You need to own up to...
Please, Ev. I need this job.
I'm not gonna ask you again.
Oh. Okay.
Charlie refuses to pay Matthew since he failed to do his job, so Matthew heads over to Charlie's house to rob him. Unfortunately, after Matthew takes the money, he panics since Charlie can easily trace the robbery back to him, so he decides that murdering Charlie is his best option. It seems like such a ridiculous and unrealistic response from Matthew, but you have to remember that he's desperate. This action, for some reason, has the omnipotent judge feel confused about whether or not to deem you as being good or bad, almost as if he hasn't seen anyone do anything morally gray before. I find it hard to believe that Matthew was the first person in existence to cause this judge to realize that good people can be provoked to do bad things because of their personal circumstances. Anyway, in the final memory, Matthew runs away with the money and with his son, only to end up being killed by Evelyn after a police chase. Honestly, despite the game pushing you to believe that Matthew is not either good or bad, I think he leans more towards being bad, because he seriously could have done almost anything else other than become a corrupt cop. Hasn't the man ever heard of GoFundMe or moving into a cheaper home or something? Though, I will commend the creator for the ending of the game. You get to choose whether or not you think you're a good person or a bad person. And that's where I think this game wraps up beautifully. There's no right answer. You, the player, get to choose. You get to use your own moral reasoning and beliefs to determine what you think about Matthew's actions, and that's a powerful thing. The game definitely has its flaws, ranging from performance issues, to typos, to hard to find interactables, but for me, I don't really care about these in a narrative experience. What I care about is the story and its impact, and I think the creator did a good job in presenting a story that makes you question how far you're willing to consider someone's hurtful actions as justifiable. So, if I were you, I'd give this game a shot. It's free, it's short, and it's enjoyable. Most importantly, you'll be supporting a young and talented creator who definitely shows a lot of promise for his future in video game development. The fact that he made this game while he was in high school already shows you how much more growth he has coming for him. I'm definitely excited for the next project that Fire Games has cooking in the creative studio, and I think you should be too. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video review. It's the first of many I'm gonna have on this channel, so if you like this kind of content and want to see more, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Stay safe, and I hope to see you all very soon.